My name is Bob, alcoholic, compulsive overeater, and I want people to like me. Let me tell you about this. I'll tell you a little bit about me personally. As a trade, I'm a registered pharmacist, but mainly I want to talk about the food and just lay it all out here for everybody. The whole thing with the food, we are inundated by the big corporations, the government, big pharma, the diet corporations, and the medical community and the lobbyists. What I'm saying by that is we don't have a chance. We have this addiction. You know, it's like having drug pushers on every corner. When you turn on the TV, when you go on the internet, when you're driving down the highway, everywhere it's about the food and the fast food. In the 1950s and 60s, like we have today, tobacco, actually 50% of the population in this country, United States, were addicted to tobacco. And they would have people from the medical profession actually coming on TV advertising it. So, but in 1963, the Surgeon General said how bad it was and things started to change. So why am I saying this? Maybe you can get an idea where I'm going with this, right? It's not too difficult to figure out. When we have these foods that are killing everybody in our country, killing us, our families, you know, and the topic is the biggest epidemic in history. That's the topic for today. The biggest epidemic in history. So what's going on here? Are these things all being advertised? Why, even the big corporations, the government's in on it. The government subsidizes a lot of the unhealthy foods that are grown in our country and are given to people, the lunches and so forth. And the big drug companies are in on it, making the drugs the answer to the problem. As you can see here, I have some pills here, right? So like I said, I'm a pharmacist, but who do you think these pills are for? Why do you think they're here? Do you think it's just a collection of bottles I have? Because right now, I don't take any medication. I take zero. But just to get you to understand that all those pill bottles there, I had all the major diseases from being overweight and eating the wrong foods. Can you imagine that? I had all the major diseases, and everywhere I went, they gave me more and more pills, more and more bottles of pills. I had the heart disease. They wanted to put a stent in my heart. This is going back 15 years ago. And so, and I had the type 2 diabetes. I had the high blood pressure. I had all of these things. You know, I went to my doctor recently, and I got he actually called me up and left a voicemail. I did a race. I wish I'd kept it. And he says, everything is perfect. And I'm on zero medications now. So that's what this is all about. The amazing thing is that this is the craziness of what's going on here. That why these things are all legal, these poisons in the food and the types of foods and the way they're made scientists, they have what they call the Bliss Point. I have a whole bunch of articles here and everything, but I'm going to just tell you straight out. I put everything together for you. They call what they call the Bliss Point. The scientists, not only scientists, psychologists, they all sit down and they try to figure out what the best thing with the taste, the smell. They have people sitting there tasting it, smelling it, the texture of everything about the food, all had to do with the senses. They do everything to get us addicted and hooked on it. And that's what it's all about. It's all about the money. And also, the other thing too is to keep the food preserved. They put the chemicals. I have a list here. We go on many meetings. I go through it with like 50 different chemicals. Hey, you don't have to take my word for it. When you go in the supermarket, pick something up, and it says 50, maybe 50 chemicals, 25 at least, right? All preserves, all enhancers. And what happens is that the food is 3 times the calories it's supposed to be. So if you buy a particular food and that's processed, it's called processed, it's going to have 3 times the calories. And you wonder why you're overweight and we get obese, and we get this in 3/4 of the country in this country here are weight and obese. It's called the SAD American diet. That's called the standard American diet, SAD, or the modern American diet, MAD. So MAD or SAD, whatever you want to say. Hey, and the way we know this is, people say, hey, we got to do a lot of research to figure all this out, and everybody wants to figure everything out. No, the research is just go around the world and look on the internet and see where all the diseases are. Our country has all of these major diseases. That brings up another thing. A lot of people say, well, you have to be, in order to afford to eat healthy, you have to have, be well off or spend a lot of money or whatever. That's not true. And you go around the world, some of the poorest nations that eat just basic foods from the ground are the healthiest, right? They don't have the heart disease. We have this heart disease, we have the strokes, we have the cancers, the high blood pressure causes all the major diseases, from kidney diseases and all of these different things. And oh, by the way, when I had my education, right, and when I became a registered pharmacist, and nowhere did it tell me about it's all about the medications. All the big pharmaceutical corporations, they control a lot of the education. Even now, I have to do continuing education. A lot of it's sponsored. When I worked in different hospitals and different organizations, it was sponsored by different manufacturers, right? So we had that from there. Not only that, the government, this is the most amazing thing. It's not only that, the government, a lot of the people, we have lobbyists, but a lot of people on these food administration parts of the government are part from the corporations, and they're allied with the corporations. Almost all of them are. So again, we don't have a chance. This whole thing is so insane and crazy. It's insanity. Let me tell you what happened with me. So anyway, like I said, when I was educated, I didn't know that medicine be thy food, food be thy medicine. So I went to, actually it was a meeting, it was an Overeat Anonymous meeting, and I went there, and a guy there, he had lost some weight. And I had gone there because I started to get the type 2 diabetes, the high blood pressure, and all of these different ailments and stuff. And I didn't believe him, even though I was medically trained, had this education for years. And the guy said to me, he said, Bob, all these things will go away if you just lose the weight and you eat healthy. But anyway, so I really didn't believe it. But anyway, when I ate healthy, started going away. Actually, let me tell you this. Here's a crazy thing. I have like 4 blood pressure machines, okay? And the reason why is because I had very high blood pressure. It was like, if anybody wants to know, it was like 195 over 90. It was like 95. It was very, very high. My pulse rate was extremely high, whatever. I had started to have these heart problems. And this is going back, I'm 70 years old now, and I'm not taking, like I said, any medications, nothing. And here, over here, you can see, these are some of them. I figured, I years ago when I had the medications, I said, let me save some of them so people could see. They're for all those ailments, the high blood pressure, heart disease, right? For the cholesterol, for all, there were like a ton of other ailments. I had, actually my skin became rosacea. I had a lot of intestinal ailments, the GERD, the gastric reflux disease, all kinds of stuff, constipation, all of these things that I had. I probably more that I didn't even think. So my skin was now it's just so different. It's just different. That was like dry and it just a change. So anyway. So what happened was I started to eat healthy, really healthy, lose the weight, and I started to take my blood pressure. And in very short time, I'm telling you, people don't realize how short a time when you start eating healthy, start losing some of the weight. My blood pressure started going down. Then all of a sudden, I was looking at the blood pressure, and the blood pressure was like a teenager. It was really like, it was like 110 over 70. It got the 107 over 70. If you don't know, that's very, very healthy blood pressure. And here's a guy, I was on 2 and 3 medications for blood pressure. And here I am, I'm finally getting off of it. I'm having this low blood pressure. So I called the manufacturer. I've got other machines. They all said the same things. Went to the doctor's office, all said the same thing. So here it is. What happened was my blood pressure became totally, totally normal. Another thing was my cholesterol. If you know about cholesterol levels, like 330, right? Now it's like 127 because of the type of foods I eat. 127. So the problem I was having, I go to sometimes these offices, the specialists, and have these, like I was going, since then I very rarely go. There's nothing to go for, but I was going to all of these doctors and everything, and then I'd go in there, and they would send me for all of these other tests, because they looked at the lab values, and they actually, they sent me for tests, for AIDS, and all of these different things, because the blood, they weren't used to these results. It was so healthy, and they showed, and I had lost the weight. So between all of that, they just couldn't get in their minds. Look, the whole thing is this, and I'm, like I said, I'm a pharmacist, but we're always like told and educated that, hey, look, when you get older, you're going to have these chronic diseases, chronic blood pressure, chronic type 2 diabetes. Hey, by the way, type 2 diabetes used to be called maturity onset diabetes, right? And that was because young people didn't get it. But now, because of our diet, they all get it. So, I mean, there's so much evidence that the diet, just like there was with the cigarette smoking. But has it ever sunk into our government or the people, or understand, even the medical profession, they're very, it's called allopathic, meaning that it's all about drugs and surgery. We do have homeopathic remedies, and these are osteopathic doctors.